Hello, everyone. Welcome to one more podcast of the Athletic School. Today, our guest speaker is Silvia Stajer. She's attempting to set a world record for the youngest female to complete a full distance Ironman on all six continents in 18 months. So, Silvia, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Igor. I'm so excited to be here and chat.
I'm very excited to learn how it is going for you. All the preparation. I think people sometimes struggle to do one marathon, and you are doing like way more than a marathon in 6 times. So that's very cool. My first question for you is like, what motivates you? Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, and I mean, definitely going into this, I kind of had to break that down because obviously it's a long-term goal. Um, so I kind of by that two different ways of like internal motivation and external motivation that I think a lot of people when they think of motivation, they think of the things around them that motivate them, like your family, your friends, your partner, which of course, like all those people and all those individuals motivate me. Um, but a lot of it comes from internal motivation of just like the individual curiosity I have for myself and where I can see myself going. This goal started about 6 months ago or 8 months ago now, and it's just the curiosity I have of how far can I go and how far can I push my body.
Mhm. So, how many Ironmans have you done so far?
So it's funny you mention that because a year ago, almost exactly to the date, I completed my second half Ironman in Florida. And then I've completed 3 full Ironman so far on this journey. So I'm halfway there, and I have 3 more to go next year.
Gosh, sounds like a lot. Um, And one thing that I noticed a little bit about you, it's like you take things very, even though you're pushing yourself a lot. You're always like, it seems like in a good mood when you're doing it. And I don't know, when I think about doing an Ironman or something like that and breaking a world record, I think about David Goggins,
Yeah,
and he's that guy
for
that
sure.
is like, he's mad at the world. He wants to kill everyone in front of him, and
Yeah,
like, you don't know me, son. And trust me, I love all of that. But it seems like you take a different approach.
yeah.
What's your mindset going to the race, to the event itself, in terms of preparation? Are you like, I'm here and I'm here for this time. Whoever is in front of me, I'm going for them, or it's
Mhm.
more like you are on your own thing? And how is your mind going?
Yeah, really, really interesting point because I feel like that's definitely been such a shift in my mindset from I grew up playing basketball. Like that was my sport all throughout high school, university, college. Like that was my thing. Um, and it was about like you said, like you want to like beat your opponent, like you want to win, and like you're gonna do what elbows up, like whatever it is.
Hmm.
But the Ironman community is the complete opposite of that. And maybe it's a little different once you're at the pro series. I'm not too sure, but when you're an age group athlete, from the first race I had when I met, actually also a gentleman from Brazil,
Hmm.
um, it's just about everyone getting to the finish line and just supporting each other and making sure that you have a great race. You know, if you have questions or if you're curious or, you want to support the athlete beside you when you're biking past them, you're not trying to beat them. This sport is just about yourself and your training and the journey it's taken you to get to the start and to the finish line. Um, so it's my mindset is just like let's just have a great race. If I can give someone a little bit of words of encouragement on the bike, or on the run, high five. It's so subtle. And someone told me about like endurance karma, and I love this kind of thought of what you put out in an endurance event is going to come back to you. So if you're really positive, really motivational, trying to help someone get to the finish line, that's going to come back to you. And I totally believe this because first Ironman in Brazil, Uh, it was a tough race. I crashed on the bike, which just led to the marathon being even more tough because I was so incredibly sore. Um, those last 10 kilometers of a marathon, whether it's in an Ironman or you're doing the marathon itself, it's the worst 10 kilometers of your life. It feels like it's a day that you do. Um, Another athlete, we didn't say anything to each other, but he just came up beside me and we started running in unison with each other. And just having that support got me to the finish line. And then I think about my race in Brazil, where there was an athlete and he was going through a situation. I could tell he was struggling,
Mhm.
just likewise as I was. But I said, hey, like, let's go. Let's get to the finish line. We have 8 kilometers left. And we got to the finish line. So, dish out or dish in what you're going to dish out, right? Like, just be positive. And I just think that's the best mindset that you can have in these endurance races.
Yeah, and I think I like the concept of endurance karma, just because I mean there's a reason why it's called Ironman, right? It's because
Mhm.
it takes you to the extreme of everything, like to your mindset, to your body, everything. It's a little bit different than the usual sports that we see, like basketball, soccer, whatever it
Mhm.
is. It is more about winning, um, but like I feel like it doesn't get to the same level of endurance. So I feel like there is more competition in other sports, and when it comes to triathlon or even a marathon, if you are not there for each other, I think it makes it very miserable, and nobody would enjoy. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's such a different mindset, and I love that about this sport.
mhm. Yeah. And we're talking about a lot of commitment in terms of time, in terms of discipline, and all of that. And I mean, I know you are in that journey for a while now, but the biggest thing for me is like you still have a social life, right? You
Mhm.
still have a family, a girlfriend, friends, and a job,
Job.
and all of that. So how can you balance all of that? Is there any balance, or is there times that you have to like, sorry guys, right now it's time for me to focus on this, and then I'll get back to you, or is there any type of balance?
Yeah, it's definitely something that people ask me all the time is, working as a full-time paramedic, I'm working each shift is between 12 and 13 hours, days, nights. So people ask like, how do you do this with this job? With having a partner, a family, friends that I want to see. Um, and it's definitely gone to a point where, when I'm training, like, sorry guys if I'm half an hour late for lunch, but like this is what I'm passionate about right now.
Mhm.
I just think it's about surrounding yourself with people that understand that. Um, if I take a day or two to reply to the message you sent me, it's nothing at all. It's just that like, well, I just finished a 7 hour workout. I ate, now I'm asleep, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
just be with people that understand that. But of course, and I've had this conversation with my coach now. So we're going into the holidays and we have a little bit of time before my next race is just kind of rekindling all those relationships. My workouts we're doing right now are like 2 hours a day. So it's funny that I have like all the free time now to see people and hang out with friends. Uh, but also, I think kind of the communities I'm a part of now are, a lot of people I surround myself with want to go for runs with me. They want to go on bike rides. We go swimming together. So just trying to integrate your outside community with my training. And of course, it makes all the difference having an incredibly supportive support system. Like my mom came across the world with me to Australia, coming around to all the races. So having that and having friends that support you in your journey is also a huge help.
Yeah, I mean, I think environment it definitely takes um, it takes a big part of our success at the end of the day. So having people that support you, or not necessarily support you, but just understands a little bit that, look, sorry, I have to go to bed. I have to take an extra nap. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
late.
Yeah, it's totally time management. And, before work, like I feel better if I get in that 45-minute workout before work. Like I really do. And I feel like I'm a better person to my patients. I just, because I know, okay, I got my training in, now I'm going to go to work. Like I love my job. I think, I love being at work. But it's just the time management, making time for things that matter to you for sure.
Yeah. I saw that in your routine you do journaling.
Mhm.
What are some other habits that you have, maybe outside the sport itself or maybe within the sport, that keeps you on track, not only mentally but like physically? Is it like doing a little bit of foam roller, or
Mhm.
is it like every day I take a nap, or every day I'm gonna be journaling? What are some habits that you do that keep you on track?
Yeah. And honestly, so full transparency, I used to be like, there was no sort of like keeping myself in track mentally. It was just all like, that just wasn't a part of the routine. I didn't really understand the importance of it. But going into this, I realized, okay, I kind of need something to keep me in line and keep me in track. So journaling has been great. Even if it's literally just 2 minutes a day to get down my thoughts. Even if I don't have much to say, it's kind of funny. My partner calls it.
What do you journal about?
So I'll just talk about my day, what's coming up, what's happened, any fears, emotions, things that I'm kind of experiencing that I feel like I just haven't taken the time to sit down with my thoughts. And I definitely noticed that, like, if I've taken 3 to 4 days off, quote unquote, of journaling, um, my thoughts are kind of all over the place. So just, I think it's so important for us to sit down with our thoughts, with our goals, whatever it is, things that are going well, that aren't, and just write them down. Like, there's something so therapeutic about pen and paper. Um, in a generation like this, and I'm a part of it, where everything's online, just something that is so, like I said, therapeutic about pen and paper that I love. So simple, but that has been huge. And along with that, of course, stretching and mobility is something that I've looked past for 26 years. I didn't see the point of it. I was just like, okay, I'm fine. I'm still young. I can do this. But again, as we say, the longevity of this goal, and kind of goes hand in hand as well with the kind of sitting down with your thoughts. Just 10 to 15 minutes a day using red light therapy. Again, that's time set aside for me where it's not super intense workout. There's no music. It's just me stretching, a time to sit down and just kind of relax and take a deep breath and just take in everything around me.
When did you realize that those things were necessary? Like, when did your mindset change it? Like, it was because the commitment with all those events coming up? Is it something that your coach told you, or it was like, okay, I'm struggling right now and I have to do this?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just came from myself and feeling like I had 1,000 things going on in my brain, and just not really having a space or a time to think everything through. Um, because once everything is all in your mind and you actually just sit down with it, the 1,000 things you might think you have, it's really only 3 or 4 main things that you have to do that all just seem like they're accumulating. But then you think about it, you write it down, you think about it, and you're like, okay, this will actually probably only take me an hour and a half or 2 hours to do. Um, and just really eases your anxiety and stress about all these things that you have.
Yeah, I got you. And I mean, I cannot even like I run. I try to run. I've been trying to train myself to do a half marathon first and then a marathon. Um, and sometimes it seems like there's no time or I have too much going on, and I cannot even imagine how funny that sounds to you because you are doing probably 10 times what I do. So walk us through your week. in terms of training and maybe some other things that you do as well.
Yeah.
Like I see that you are on the bike a lot.
Yeah.
It's very cold. It's getting to winter and it's getting colder and colder. And I hate to run on the treadmill,
Yeah.
but I mean force myself because otherwise it's a terrible run outside where for the first kilometers I'm just trying to to warm myself up.
Yeah.
So if you could just walk us through a week of training,
Yeah.
just so we have an idea of the things that you're doing.
Yeah. So I'll say like, during kind of like my bulk weeks, like the peak week, um, it's between like 20 and 22 hours a week of training. That will be split between swim, bike, and run. Um, so, at least once a week we have one long ride, one long swim, and one long run, with some interval work and tempo work in between.
What's a long run? What's a long swim?
So a long swim would be anywhere between like 4K and maybe even upwards of like 4,200 meters. Um, a long bike would be between 5 and 6 hours. And then our longest run that we do in any training block is between 32 and 34 kilometers.
Okay.
So sometimes the long bike will be followed by a short run, which are what we call our brick sessions. So you go into one discipline right into the next. And then each week as well, we have tempo work so like some interval stuff, just integrating some speed, again, across all three disciplines. And then every week as well, we have 3 to 4 lifts. And we're not lifting any crazy weight. We're not trying to hit like 1 rep max or anything like that. A lot of it is just structured around ensuring that the muscle groups that I'm using for each discipline um, is just staying healthy. And obviously, they're strengthening those small muscle groups as well. Um, and then aside from that, throughout the week, when I'm not training, a lot of it is just, I try to go visit my grandparents, right? Like, I'm still a kid. My grandparents are still around. Like, I love going to just sit down and have lunch with them. Um, I I don't live at home anymore, so going to see my mom and my sister, and other family members as well. That's super important and just so good for me. Just to see family, that's huge. Um, yeah. So aside from that, honestly, I kind of don't do a heck of a lot. Like with training, and work, and trying to see family and friends. These are kind of like the 3 things that are most important to me right now. But week to week almost looks identical. People ask me, "What did you do today?" I'm like, "Well, the same thing I did yesterday."
Right.
And then, of course, like depending on where we are in our training cycle, um, depends on how many hours I spend training. So, like I said, like right now, the max workouts we're doing a day are 2 hours, just easing off of Ironman Australia and just allowing myself some time to recoup before we go into a big training cycle for my next Ironman in March.
Mhm. Um, I think for people that are gonna to listen to us and people that see a little bit of you just crossing the finish line, uh, I think it is inspiring when we look at the Ironman and how much how happy you are because you crossed the finish line and everyone like, oh my god, I really want to do an Ironman.
Mm-hmm.
And what are some things that people should know before they commit to something like that? And I mean more in terms of mindset, just because I feel like it's such a big commitment, and at the end of the day, if you don't do it, maybe people will start to feel bad. Maybe they will hate running, or maybe they already hate running and they want to go straight to an Ironman. What are
Mm-hmm.
some things that people should be cautious when they decided to do something like that?
Yeah. Um, they definitely need to know that it is going to be probably the hardest thing that they've done so far. Like it is it is so hard physically, emotionally, mentally. But again, like you have to of course, living in the moment is so important and something I added more, but you have to think as well as like, okay, I'm doing all these long days, all these training sets to get to that red carpet of the Ironman, or to get to the finish line of whatever you're doing. So you have to know that, yeah, like it's going to be really hard. Some days might feel a little bit easier, uh, and some days, you might be scheduled to do a 5K run, and you're like, why is this feeling so hard right now? Why is a 5K run feeling like harder than my 15-kilometer run I did last week? Um, and that's just your body adapting to the, uh, you know, zone two training is such a big thing right now. Everyone's in zone two, zone two, zone two. Um, and even just starting off with that, I remember my zone two runs used to be like 7 kilometers. And I was like, okay, I just want to run. Like, this is so frustrating. And then now my zone two running is like a 450 per kilometer, 5 minutes. So all the little things you're doing are for the bigger picture. So those little training sets you're doing, they might seem frustrating and incredibly, kind of disappointing, but they're all for the bigger goal. So just stay patient. Everything is totally for a reason in your training. Um, and as well, just know that you're doing something that is taking a huge toll on your body. So take the time for yourself and remember that, if you miss 1 or 2 days of training or even up to a week because you're not feeling well, like that's totally okay. We're all human. We're going to get injured, we're going to get sick. But if you kind of have the mental ability to just take a step back and be like, okay, I actually just need a reset, do that. Because in the sport like this, where it's just all about longevity and endurance, just be cautious and kind of take that step back and think to yourself, maybe I should take some rest. That's hard for us athletes to do sometimes.
Yeah. I'm sure there are some days that you probably don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what what do you do on those days that you don't want to do it, and what you have to tell people that maybe they don't want to go out because it's cold out
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have a treadmill at home. Maybe they cannot go to the gym. It's supposed to be a 15K run, but then like they know that they're gonna be struggling on the treadmill. So how do you do it, and how you think people should, maybe get away of these mind tricks that we play to ourselves?
Yeah, it's definitely such a mind game, and it's such an interesting one to play. Um, you know, I face it more often than not. As you're saying, when your alarm clock goes off in the morning, and right now in Canada, it's pitch black until 7 a.m. So when you're waking up at 4 a.m. and it's dark, it's cold, you're like, why am I doing this? You're like, I could just stay in bed for another 2 hours. Like, why am I doing this to myself? No one's paying me. This is just for myself. Like, why am I doing this? Um, and then you kind of, and that's where motivation and discipline kind of separate themselves, because there's some mornings where I have literally zero motivation. I'm like, no, I'm just not going to do it. But then that's where the discipline comes in of like, no, like I'm going to get up, and I know as soon as I brush my teeth and have my coffee, I'm going to feel better. So just kind of having something for yourself when you really don't want to do something, where just take that next step, right? Like, don't think about putting on your shoes and getting to the gym and thinking about that 15K run. Just think about getting out of bed and brushing your teeth. Because as soon as you take that step, all of a sudden you're one step closer to the goal you had of today, which was getting that 15K run. So just wake up, brush your teeth. Okay, one step closer. Okay, I've had my coffee, I've had my little breakfast. Okay, and then you kind of start to feel good. You're like, oh yeah, like I'm doing this, and I'm doing something that a lot of people like can't do, that don't have the ability to do it, and my body is capable of this. So like, feel proud of that. You go to the gym, maybe you see only two other people in there, and you're like, damn, we are all in here up before the sun is up, or after work, whenever the time is that you go, bettering ourselves. Like, this is what we're doing. And you just kind of, you just get this energy and this vibe of like, shoot, like I'm doing something really cool right now. And something that I think you can be proud of at the end of the day. Um, so I just think like when you kind of get that, it's almost like your mojo. You just kind of feel all groovy and happy inside of like, I'm doing this today. You know, you get the music going a little louder, your feet kind of start turning over, and you just kind of feel good. So I guess to sum that all up is just take a step. Don't think about what you have to do, the long term goal of the day. Just take one step towards that goal, and then you're going to get there without even realizing.
Mhm. Awesome. I love that. Silvia, one last question that I always ask the guest speakers is one piece of advice you would share with the world. Maybe, let's say, I don't know, you're gonna have like, uh, I don't know, an outdoor banner that everyone's gonna see. You get to say whatever you want. What
Mm-hmm.
is
Um, I think it would have to be, and this is something that I started saying while I started this journey, is why not you? And just think about it. Growing up, I watched elite athletes. I would watch the elite marathoners run by the place that I worked every single race, and I would get goosebumps. I would get chills because I just thought it was so incredible. But I always said, literally, that could never be me. Oh, I could never do a marathon. I could never be an endurance athlete. I'm just not built like that. Um, but then as I started getting into triathlons and endurance sports, again, only 2 years ago, I just thought, well, why not? Like, why not me? Why am I putting this limitation on myself when I haven't even tried or I haven't even allowed myself to think about these things? So just think to yourself, literally, why not you? And the reasons that you might be saying to yourself, like, really, really think about them because they might not even be incredibly factual. So just think to yourself, why not me or why not you? Uh, because that really allowed me to get to this point where it's crazy. Like, I'm 26 years old and I'm trying to set a world record. Like, if I could tell myself that even like only 4 years ago, like that would have never crossed my mind. Um, so just always remember those three words. And I think that everyone is capable of such great success. And I just love seeing what everyone's capable of as well.
Yeah, I love that. It's a simple question, but very, very deep, and we'll
Yeah.
definitely uh, take some meditation on that one. So I love it. Silvia, thanks so much for your time. I'll let you go back to the bike and to your run. I wish you the best luck. Uh, I'll be cheering for you. I hope it's as smooth as possible for you to get it done.
Thank
But yeah, I think it's great at what you're doing. It's inspiring not for only other people, but like you said in the beginning, you're just doing it to kind of see how far you can go, and I think that's
you.
how that's what life is about, is just testing ourselves and trying to get out of the comfort zone, and because we are capable of very, very great things and things
Yeah.
that we cannot even imagine sometimes, uh, but sometimes we just don't take the chance. We don't ask ourselves why not us. uh,
Yeah. That,
so yeah, I love that. Thanks so much for taking the time, and yeah.
I appreciate it, Igor. Thank you.